Hi, good evening. And we have a special Pride Month episode. Tonight, I am here with Dr. Todd M.J. Denoon, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, a highly respected veterinarian in Tobago, and he's also the current secretary of the Tobago Pride Association. Welcome, Todd, to the Alex and Mo podcast.
Hi, Monique. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I've wanted to collaborate with you and meet you for so long after we've been interacting on Facebook for quite some time. So I'm glad to see.
Well, yes. So we both went to the same high school in Tobago. I'm a few years older than you, but I was at school with your older
Yeah,
brother, who was a
the
couple
only high
years
school in Tobago, if I may say.
older than I am. And yes, we've been interacting because I happen to have belonged to the best house at Bishop's High School.
You
And
were in both? Okay, cool.
no,
I'm
actually, I wasn't
remember
Anson.
that.
But it's July, and July is usually celebrated as Pride Month worldwide.
June.
We are both, yes, June, sorry. So we are both from Tobago, born and raised, and
Hmm.
we both probably grew up in very religious households and
Hmm.
parents who were very conservative. We went to a pretty
Yeah,
conservative high school as well, and probably primary school because the majority of our primary schools are religiously affiliated. So,
religious.
yes.
Yeah,
So, being able to be your authentic self is a challenge for many of us. And it can be a life changing situation to come out and be out in the open because it can be seen as a huge disrespect to the people who raised
your
you
parent.
and the people you love
That is
and
the first
you're
line
grateful
that they
for.
use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very challenging. So I never thought I would live to see the day that you guys will be hosting a flag raising event in Tobago. So I must commend you and the rest of the Tobago Pride Association for doing such a thing because representation does matter. There's pride in being seen, there's pride in representation, there's pride in accepting and being your true authentic self. So congratulations, but I'm sure there was a lot of pushback.
Right. So honestly, our experience is still very insulated. So what I would say is, in terms of us being TPA, we've been very sort of careful in our infancy. A lot of the events that we would have hosted previously would have been, very under the loop, under the radar. We'd have just been informing members we more and more open until we were, pretty much open this year, accessing, well, actually last year, going on to the local stations and interacting more on Facebook. So, by and large, in terms of the process of registration, that was extremely smooth. Our treasurer was the one who kind of oversaw everything, other than general bureaucracy. Nothing specific to the nature of our organization. Sort of pushback we've gotten is once we've publicized activities, and I think particularly our news stories, which is going to be content that we didn't aren't sharing. Our pages would be our pages. You do the comment section, you see the whole litany of negative comments. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I am.
Hello?
I know the
Okay.
internet. I know the internet in Tobago is a bit shaky, but yes, I am hearing you.
Yeah, and it's really rainy today, and we
Oh,
were public. be a little right. But as I was saying, the kind of pushback that we really experience would be kind of online. If you go
Mhm.
into the comment section, then you see the discussions. But I do want to point out that we have encountered a lot more support than we really thought we would have had. Even if you go through the comments aren't universally bad. There's a lot of people who are either members of the community or otherwise really learning the cause.
Okay, so
Me
you guys are
personally,
having,
I avoid sections. So I don't section. Other members of the association and friends have gone to them, but I've learned a long time ago nothing good comes out of the comment section. So I generally don't go back and look at the comment section. I would share it, and my page is extremely supportive. My circles are very supportive, and I'm okay with that.
well, I honestly do believe that a lot of the pushback comes because of our cultural traditions and because people can use Christianity to weaponize and justify their prejudices. And it's
Very much
something
so.
that I encountered and it probably delayed me coming out. Um, but I'm at a point in my life where I don't have any control over what people say about me or think about me. It took
Mm,
me almost 40 years to realize that. And the only thing that I can control is just being myself. And I'm realizing by being my true self, people will come to adjust to it because you do have something of value to offer. I know
yeah,
personally for me, it would it would have been quite challenging to be my authentic self during the time that I had graduated from high school, and if I wanted to return and have my own business, that there was going to be a lot of pushback because it's something people rejected. And again, it's very tribal there when it comes to like politics and other things. So I don't think my business and my goals would have been supported um, as they have been where I'm at right now. So that was a personal choice for me. Um, but I'm glad to see that there's increasing support. And I do
yeah,
agree with you. Delving into the comments can be quite disturbing.
yeah,
We've done a previous episode, Pride Special, featuring some physical therapists. Here we did have a someone who is trans on it, and the amount of Bible quotes and scriptures that we got in the comments, I just had to smile.
yeah.
So
Just in case you missed your Sunday sermon, there it is. Just in case you didn't get to church last week Sunday, here it is.
yeah, but the representation that you guys are giving, it's good. I do believe it's going to give a safe space for those people who are still living in the closet or wanting to come out. Just know that there is a community that would support you. But
Yeah,
sometimes the support isn't that much, and you and other members of the executive could be seen as martyrs for a cause because a lot of people probably still won't appreciate the stuff that you guys are doing. So I'm not sure if that's a huge discouragement to people wanting to serve on the committee or even to become members of the committee.
right. So I would say that coming out is your own journey. You have to know your space, and you kind of have to balance knowing your space as taking opportunities when they're presented. As I have become more and more established in myself, personally, professionally, I see the importance of sometimes making that opportunity can be very hard, but like when friends of mine would have started talking about the Tobago Pride Association, and when we had the ruling that Jason Jones versus the attorney, which kind of really sparked a lot of the local pride movement in a bigger way. So I just want to, of course, indicate that there was a consistent pride movement in TNT before that, but I think that provided a platform for a greater awareness and greater visibility, and a lot of momentum was given to a lot of the pride movements to become a lot more public. And definitely that's kind of how things kicked off in Tobago. So when we had that ruling and Pride TT was formed and had their flag raising, that's how we started in a very small group, doing a flag raising. I think at that point in time was Signal Hill, and that's what, 2019?
Okay.
No, about 2018, I think. And then each year it grew and it grew. And this was my actual first in-person flag racing. Last year it was virtual, and the year before it wasn't Tobago. So this is my first time actually being a part of the Tobago flag raising. And when people, you kind of have, so what I was trying to get at is, along those times I've seen the work that the association and people who started the association was doing, and that really touched me because at that point I was much more as a person. um and there's a part of me that was like, do I want to be the face of like gay Tobago? Do I want to deal with the pushback of my family members, and all of those kind of things? Those were things that were going through my mind. But I saw it as a moment for me to be brave and to take a step, because that's kind of like how my journey has been. That moment, that opportunity that I decided, okay, I'm not going to shy away from this. I am actually going to take a deep breath, jump into this situation, be more me. Because at the end of the day, one of the main objectives of coming out is creating space for you to be you. And when the message goes out that this is who you are, people can adjust. Instead of the converse, when you're closeted, you always have to adjust around people's expectations and people's knowledge. So being out allows people that burden to be on them. So if you're uncomfortable with me, that is something that you are going to have to address. That is something that you are going to have to work through, because my time for that is over. I'm just being me, right? So anyone interested in becoming a part of the association, and you are going to have some doubts, you are going to have some fears, take a deep breath, jump in, and see if it will work for you. But again, balance and know your situation. If it is going to be too much for you, then
All right. So I got the gist of it. There was some like interruptions because again, the internet connection.
work.
Yeah, that's one thing that drives me crazy when I do return home. Because I'm not used to that sort of speed.
Yeah.
Um, but you are correct. Everyone's journey is different. There, I saw a post that Liz Williams made, and I did go through the comments because I'm just curious to see if people's perspective have evolved, and it hasn't, because you see comments like, or they're just trying to force their stuff on our kids and on us and stuff like that, which is far from the truth. Um, we are just seeking
Right.
certain rights that were denied. So have has the Port Association been trying to get any legislative efforts passed to help to protect members of the LGBTQ plus community? Okay, so it seems like we lost Todd for a little bit. As he said, it's raining quite a bit in Tobago, so the internet connection is sketchy. Um,
Hi. Yeah. Hi.
Ask if you're
So
using TT or B Mobile. Which one are you using?
I'm using digital. I'm using digital
Digital?
right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's yeah. All right. So what was the I got everything in terms of the preamble of going through the comments, um, and the article. What was the question?
There's very little protection per se for someone who belongs to the LGBTQ plus community. So, has the TNT Pride, Tobago Pride, done anything to push any legislative efforts to make sure that there is protection for members if they're in school or in the workplace, that they would not be discriminated against?
All right. So what I want to do before we jump into that, I just want to sort of tap back to that
Mm,
strategy, where many conservatives always push forward the narrative that we are trying to force our lifestyles on them. When the irony of that statement is literally by creating conservative legislation, by anytime we talk about our rights, your response is the Bible says, or my beliefs are. That you are the ones literally forcing your lifestyle on persons who do not conform to your beliefs.
mhm,
So that is the most important irony that we kind of always have to keep in mind when persons advance that narrative, that inaccurate narrative. It's very sort of it's a projection because that is what they're doing, and now they're accusing us of doing it. What has Pride TT and TP, the Tobago Pride Association, has done? So what I've been aware of is that they have had talks about the rights that we currently have, and also different aspects in of the legislation that we want to have changed. So, for example, looking at intimate partner violence, gender-based violence, and how we can have wording that can protect LGBT members from intimate partner violence, but also beyond the legislation, they have worked with a lot of other organizations to have things like referral pathways for gender-based violence. So getting all the civil society, nonprofit organizations together to pool the resources and, of course, be able to respond in real time and in quick time to someone who has a case where they are a victim or survivor of intimate partner violence. So while we wait on legislative changes, there's a lot of civil society things that we can do to keep us as safe as possible in the very immediate circumstances of threat to life, or threat to safety, loss of shelter, and things like that. They've also spoken about looking at trying to get certain changes in the Equal Opportunity Act, again, to have um, the inclusion of sexual status not be a grounds that someone can be discriminated against, along with their HIV status. So it's not only an LGBTQ plus um, legislative agenda and a legislative push, it has been collaborative. We do realize that there's a lot of intersectionality with some of the issues that we face, but similarly, there are some very specific things. So, what I've been aware of is more so the efforts to one, try to get the members of the community to understand what rights we do have, what rights we don't have, and how to we are going to go about that. I It's very possible that Pride TT has gone more further, but I am currently not aware, so I can't really speak on what Pride TT has done. Um, Beyond that, TPA generally would align itself with some of or participate in some of those discussions and try to be a part of. More recently, we've been a part of that gender that referral pathway, sorry, for gender-based violence. And again, that's a collaborative effort with a number of different organizations, the Division of Health, and I think it's the United Nations Population Fund. Yeah. And their project. The name really is escaping me at the moment. But yeah, so that's some of the things that we've done.
What about programs that are available where someone who is in, I would say, like a crisis situation, being outed or they need someone to talk to? Does TPA have any resources available so that they could get like counseling or mentorship or anything like that?
Currently, we don't. So again, fairly young organization, and we've been primarily geared towards um, establishing ourselves administratively. So the last 2 years is when we've sort of gotten through to settling our constitution and having elections and structuring the organization in a way that can function. And even now, we're still tweaking that. So in terms of assets and resources, we're very limited. Beyond that, the way we've functioned over the past year have been sort of hosting educational seminars. We've done work on cancer. We've done work on cryptocurrency. So we're looking at trying to have holistic development. But in terms of crisis management and so forth, we don't have the capacity as an organization to intervene. What we do have is a network of people. So if someone is in a crisis situation, we may be able to, among our members, and individual help if they are able to, or activate and speak to other people that we are connected to have that person protected and sort of sheltered in the immediate situation. But again, beyond that, us acting independently, we don't have that sort of capacity. Again, what we do have is that human resource, so we can provide persons to talk to, sort of like mentorship, um, and things like that nature.
So, what would TPA need from like members like myself who live in the diaspora?
I think some of the things that we really need immediately would be to, workshops in order to increase our capacity, for us to clearly define the pathways that can best allow us to meet a number of different objectives. So the training in proposal writing, training in um, legislation, what is and how do we go about advocating for those changes? Um, yeah, so just capacity building type programs.
Okay, I do believe some situation like this will be more welcoming to members of the diaspora. I was just reminded on Facebook today about a conversation that took place in 2017 about people who have left Tobago and now living abroad and doing well, but chose not to return home to live, if they should be offering any sort of verbal contributions and stuff like that, because it's not like we're there in the trenches doing the work. And I know it can be seen as, I mean, I have to give you guys credit because I know back in the day I probably wouldn't have stepped out and done something like this because I didn't think it would have been a safe space for me to do so, not only for myself but for my family members. So
I mean, to be honest, like
yeah,
2016 Todd doesn't has no idea what 2022 Todd would have been capable of.
okay.
You
So it does, the journey does take time. Um, and as you said, we can't rush other people to do what we are doing now, but I have to give you guys a lot of credit for being so bold, to make those moves. I know there's going to be a lot of pushback, because you look at the recent ruling by the SCOTUS here in the US,
yeah,
leaving Roe versus Wade up to the state. And as you said, Tobago is highly conservative. So even trying to find legislative grounds for safety and protection for members of the LGBTQ plus community is gonna be met with a lot of pushback.
yeah.
Even a few years ago, when the Tobago Jazz
Elton John.
experience invited Elton John,
Yeah,
I was like, this is a world renowned artist, and people didn't want him coming to the island because they thought he was gonna, I don't know, probably spread some homosexual spirit and
yeah.
corrupt
Putting
everybody
into the
else.
atmosphere. Yeah,
So it's those things that I just have to shake my head and be like, you know
yeah,
what? The environment is not ready for someone like me, but I'm glad you guys are blooming
yeah.
where you're planted. So
What I would say is, again, our earnest experience has been, there's a lot more support than you would really think. I think on the ground, people's attitudes have been changing, and you kind of have to be able to intersect with the much more varied population that we have. So you have persons who are very progressive and who are very much ready to be allies, very much ready to also, yeah, be able to advocate on our behalf. You have those persons who are still battling their homophobia, but have maybe had a lot of positive interaction with persons of the community and understand that this is like a lot of the things that the prejudice that we've held just aren't serving us anymore. You meet someone who's a genuine person, who is a good friend, who is a good professional, and you have no reason to, like, these prejudices can hinder you from having a good experience with this person, whether it's a friend, whether it's a business contact, and you kind of have to revise what you know, and then you get closer to a person and you understand the ways, and especially the more subtle ways homophobia crops up,
hmm,
and people are willing to re-examine themselves, and you kind of have to make space for those people to still have their homophobic tendencies and not have a knee-jerk reaction, but be able to see that they are willing to change and guide them along that process. Be like, hey, well, this thing that you did or this thing that you said was offensive, and this is why. And I say that because I always remember that one of the great ironies of being queer is that you start off life almost very homophobic, especially if you're in the Caribbean. You have internalized homophobia that you have to honestly continue to unpack. And coming out doesn't just erase that, right? Because you're still very much in that society. You're still very much carrying that history, carrying that trauma. And trauma doesn't go away unless you deal with it, unless you confront it. So just as you have confronted it, because of course you have to live with yourself, you have to make space for the person who doesn't have to live a queer life, to grow. Yeah. And of course you're gonna have the other end of the spectrum, persons who are just not interested in growing at all. And put your efforts where they are most impactful and most needed. So going on a social media comment section and battling with someone who is a staunch and dedicated homophobe is not a good use of your time or your ATP. No, let those mitochondria rest. Okay? Yeah. And focus on the persons who are interested in changing, the persons who are in their state of evolution, and of course, the people who are very, very progressive and supportive. And those are the people who are going to really push the change because you can't do it by yourself.
it's I've received like a lot of private messages and stuff for things that I've spoken out about. You know, people will say, "Yeah, I support you on that, but I can't say publicly because I might lose my job or I won't get this, or they would victimize my family or victimize me." So it it doesn't really create that safe environment for people to say what they truly want to say or be who they truly want to be. And again, that's something that I can deal with. Personally, I can deal with. So another reason that I've stayed in place. So I I would try to encourage people to be more open about their support, but again, as you said, everything takes time. We have to give them that grace as well too. I know personally, I had to unlearn a lot of unhealthy habits because when you are in the closet, you are adapting multiple personalities for whomever you're around. And you get to a point where you don't truly realize who you are. But when you start to get to the point of accepting who you are and this is who you're going to be, it frees up a lot of stuff. And uh, life tends to be a whole lot better. So the people who care and who love you unconditionally will continue to do so.
Yeah. What I would say is what has helped my journey personally is a lot of the love and support that my friends and people around me have shown me. And th- you, I came to a realization that here are these people who are willing to accept me. So at this point in time, I am kind of out to small circles of my friends, and they kind of know. Um, and many of them are just very nonchalant about it. They're not like hyper excited. They're not, you know, overly cautious. It's just like, yeah, it's you, Todd. It's Todd. And like when I started seeing that, I was just
Mm,
like, these people can't be more comfortable with me than I'm with me. And I'm so grateful for those people who accepted me way before I could have accepted myself. And their work and the environment that they created mattered so much for me to eventually get to this point. Um, and yeah, so your support and your environment is really important. And a lot of times, people outside are the ones to accept you and hold you and support you as you're able to come to that realization and become more of who you are and discover the person that these other people are seeing. Yeah.
very true. So, what's the vision for TPA?
Or well, right now, it is getting through Pride.
Mhm,
Right, more immediately, it's getting through Pride, and then we're moving into our elections thereafter. Um, Overall, the objectives of the organization would be advocacy, um, social development of our membership, um, uh, legislative change, and pushing for those things, as well
mhm.
as social change. So those are sort of like the broad strokes of what we are, and also a social. We are also a social organization as well. We are a place for queer people to come together and socialize and find community. So it's not all just work. A large part of what we came together to do was to create that space for us to be us. Yeah, and for people to realize, yeah, here are these people who are out and living their lives, and I could aspire to that. Or maybe I've been that person and I just need to connect with more people. Here are the people that you can connect to. Let's go down to a bar hopping and have some drinks. Let's plan a games night. Let us um bond.
So, how does one become a member? Do you guys have like an online registration?
Right. So right now, we are still very much trying to figure out what is the best way to do that, because we're balancing confidentiality and the safe space aspect of persons who aren't out, as much as we are trying to have members who are out and visible. So right now, what we have done is um, contact, well, membership by referral. So if you know someone, you reach out to a current member, and that person starts the introduction process, talking about the programs that we've had. And then the next step, once they've gotten a good relationship with you, if they already don't, would be adding to our WhatsApp group.
Mhm.
And so a WhatsApp group is our meeting space, and that kind of evolved out of both COVID, but also the need for us to. So everything moved on, virtual. but also for the simple act of us being able to meet, but not having a physical space to meet that is convenient and also safe. So that is kind of what we are doing. And what we've done in the past is sort of have like an anonymous, well, fairly anonymous registration form that would have details such as the person's phone number, because that's the only way we generally would identify persons in WhatsApp, because everybody doesn't come into a WhatsApp group with their name already saved to everybody else's contact, right? So by and large, it's a lot of
I
numbers,
am very skeptical about the WhatsApp group chats because during the political campaign, a lot of
a lot of screenshots,
screenshots
right?
and sharing stuff. So
Exactly. So
I
that
don't know about being anonymous with that.
right. So
So,
again, the thing that we've again done is honest. Let members already know that if a member that you've invited has crossed lines, that you're also responsible for that as well. So we really impress the importance of vetting the members that you're bringing in, and also reiterate the importance of this WhatsApp group being a safe space. And even with that, we've had challenges. Even with that, we've had to remove persons. But primarily remove persons for being inappropriate rather than remove persons for sort of more wanton breach of confidentiality. So I don't know of any instances, and they possibly could be, but I personally don't know of screenshots and recording and that kind of stuff to out persons. So I don't know that that has happened, but you do have persons who've been inappropriate, and we're like, yo, whatever you're doing, we're not done with that, and we've had to have persons leave. And I mean, overall, it has not been a lot of that. I think maybe about 3 persons in the about 2 or 3 years that we've had the WhatsApp group. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I
um,
understand the criticism of of WhatsApp.
so
Yeah.
it seems to be like a general group. But do you guys have like any youth membership available? So if there are students that want to form like a group at their school, which possibly will have some pushback as well, um,
Hmm.
can they get guidance from TPA as to how to set up a group and create a safe space for students to talk to or meet?
Yeah, so that is a possibility. We don't currently have it. On the earliest, we had a youth liaison officer because we do have persons who are young, but young would still be over 18. Beyond that, for persons who are under 18, um, what we've sort of discussed is having persons interact through their parents. And again, that is because the persons that we've been aware of, the persons who've come to the group, have had supportive parents or guardians. Um, so that is how we've interacted. Beyond that, we do know of a Tobago safe space that is operated separately from us, but we do know individuals who are operating it, but it is not a TPA initiative. And again, safe spaces is for persons, specifically young persons who are not out and need that support, need that mentorship. So yeah, beyond in terms of setting up a pride association in a school, that is definitely going to be a discussion to have. Um, because I feel it's definitely coming. It's something that as more and more young persons are brave enough to come out, people are coming out at much younger ages, people are going to be interested in something like that. Which is of course something that when we went to high school, you could never think that could happen. That no
Uh,
conversation that
I
could have.
think there people knew, but it's something that as I was told in the past, is that you didn't have to say it.
Yeah,
Just do it. You just don't say it.
yeah, but
So
children are. kids now are saying it. Kids now are just like, this is me. So yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna have the need for them to come together and share the strength of being a queer person in Tobago, a queer youth in Tobago. So yeah, that's definitely an important discussion going forward.
So, are there like any social services available? You know, like how social service programs available in Tobago to assist anyone who belongs to the LGBTQ plus community?
So not specific to LGBT plus persons. So it would again be there are organizations that are geared towards gender-based violence. So there's that, and you would have persons who would be or organizations that would be dealing with perhaps um, poverty relief. So if it's a matter of um, not having a youth being displaced from the home and having to be sheltered in place for a short time, those kind of things. If it's a requirement in terms of having support for school books, etc., all those things kind of exist, but not specific to the LGBTQ plus community. What we can do again is our members. So we have professionals, we have persons who are working, and if someone knows a queer kid who needs support, then we can activate our own individual networks and persons to be like, hey, let us. This is the assistant. Can we pull together to get a mobile device, a laptop for this person for school, or if this person is just leaving school and needs a job, do you know of any vacancies and things like that?
Okay, and what about making it easy to report cases to like the local police? Is there like a special unit like you have the child? I don't know the exact term because it's been so
Right.
long. But is there like a special division or unit to report cases like that? If
So yeah,
somebody
there is.
be
Yeah,
attacked?
so there's the special victims unit. The actual name is escaping me now. So I was recently a part of a gender referral pathway meeting where the police was involved. So they again the overall focus of that was gender-based violence, intimate partner violence, but they did speak about the Child Protection Act and the burden of reporting abuse and things like that. So they spoke about those things and the uh, that unit, which I believe was the I think it's not quite Special Victims Unit because that's that show, but it's
Mhm.
along those lines. But it was originally the like domestic violence unit, but they've merged that and the child protection unit as well, to have them handle those kind of cases. Um, and the police officer who was there, the inspector, I believe he was, I can't remember his name, was very sensitive to making those changes to ensure that it's easy to report or easier to report persons to report domestic violence, but also in the way that the police officers take information from someone who may be coming from a situation of same-sex partner violence. So you do have that at least that one person who is the head of a unit being very sensitive to the needs, the social needs of LGBTQ plus persons. And he also is one of those persons who's given out his number very freely. So if you have a negative experience in reporting a case at that unit, you have direct contact, or you can get direct contact with him for him to follow up. And again, he's also someone who has sort of gone on record to say he does not have a problem dealing with his officers. He's not going to be that police officer who is going to be like, oh, well, that's my batch. So you all sort your thing out. No, he's been on record saying that he has written up his colleagues, and if they're in the breach of the law, then he's not going to be the one to protect them. But again, that is an individual that is not institutionalized, and the broader picture of the police service, which is again, not even limited to this police service, is that fraternity, but also the social conditioning that each individual officer has to deal with growing up and living in a homophobic, conservative place like Tobago.
Okay. So, what would you say to the public since you have a platform now, um, about what why the TPA was created and the role that it has to play? Forgetting all the negative comments and connotations that people associate with um, members of the LGBTQ plus community. What would you like to share to with people in Tobago and who tune into this platform?
Right. So ultimately, what we are interested in is the holistic development of Tobago, and and the way that we are going about that is to ensure that the persons in Tobago who are LGBTQ plus can be able to contribute and can be able to develop holistically, and that now trickles to the wider society, and we all develop. So when you think about um, oppression and what that does to society, it removes the ability of a certain sector of the society to really contribute to that society. And when you do that, you're shooting yourself in the leg, because LGBTQ plus people are your doctors, your lawyers, your teachers, your small business owners, your janitors. We're all we're everywhere. And in order for us for Tobago to develop, you're going to have to allow persons to be themselves. You're going to have to create a space where persons can contribute without fear. So we are about holistic development of Tobago by developing uh, and creating spaces for LGBTQ plus persons to develop holistically. We're also here to advocate that change on a legislative level, because the reality is, if you're outside of the LGBTQ plus community, those laws may not necessarily affect you, but there are a lot of things, a lot of issues where they may become an issue. For example, when you look at donating blood, I mean, you have so many people. I mean, blood donation is not a huge cultural thing here. You don't have a lot of volunteer blood donors. It becomes very much a sort of crisis donation. So right now, men who have sex with men can't legally donate blood because it is of that ruling way back in the 70s. That is kind of still on the paper that you can't donate if you're gay. But the reality is the blood is still going to be screened as it is for everyone, and you're missing out on literally a life-saving situation. So, like, if my mom were to need blood, God forbid, I'm not going to be able to give her, because, of course, now I'm very open. I can't show up to the hospital and be like, "Hey, I'm willing to take blood," and that nurse who may be conservative or who may be just by the book, she's like, "Yeah, I know you, and yeah, I'm sorry." Right?
So,
And
are they going to be arrested if they do accept?
I don't know if I don't know what actually happens. I really don't know what actually happens.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, this
Uh,
this is this is news to me.
yeah.
So wow.
So I know people who do, and I know that there've been discussions to have that changed. And yeah, I don't know how far those discussions have been, but yeah, that's one of the problems with laws and policies that are discriminatory. Generally, they would be aimed at persons who are oppressed, but along the way is it's going to affect the wider society. It's going to affect persons outside of the community. Yeah. So to the queer people in Tobago, there is hope, there's community. Here are people that this is one way that you can get involved. We do make space for you to participate safely and anonymously, and at least while you're still fairly closeted, but we are also here for persons who are much more out, and you can meet those persons and become inspired by those persons. Um, yeah, and of course, to the the business community, we are very grateful for the businesses that have opened up and become very inclusive. For example, places like Bar Hoppin. And I was on my Instagram and I came across Xander Tours, which is a reef boat tour operator. And on Valentine's Day, they had a "Love is Love" post, and I'm just like, what? So yeah, so you're seeing the you're seeing um support happening in the private sector, and you even seeing it in bigger scales. So Scotiabank has sort of been the lead in major companies locally to start being an ally or celebrate Pride Month. And I think I saw RBC this year as well. So you're having a lot of corporate entities coming on board, whether it is for their bottom line, whether it is for good social publicity, or whether it is a genuine interest in the community. Those are things that we can debate. But the fact that we can have that support and what that support can do to our development is worthwhile, and worth celebrating.
Okay, well, I'm definitely interested in any additional info that there is to become a full-fledged member of TPA.
Mhm.
I am Tobagonian as well,
Yeah,
so and even in my distance, you guys will have my support
yeah,
because this is a movement that I will be fully 100% behind. And if you guys need any assistance with moving that, erasing that archaic legislation of not being able to donate blood, I know things are done at a snail space locally
mhm,
when it comes to laws, but I'm hoping that like the office where change that was made by the incoming THA executive, that this is going to be something that could be looked at as well.
yeah.
Uh, because I mean, once the blood is safe and it's good, there are
It's good.
people that can benefit from it. I have been a recipient of people who've done blood donations, and I'm grateful for it. So there are a lot of people who can benefit from it as well too. So I do wish you guys all the best. And as I said, you can reach out to me. I may not be at uh, this year's homecoming um,
Or one
celebrations,
fantastic person.
but Bishop's High School or alma mater is having homecoming celebrations August 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Yeah,
So I do hope people turn out and show their support. Go and see. So,
go full.
so thank you, Todd, for being on the show. It was great chatting with you, and we do have like other openings. So if you do want to come on to talk about veterinary medicine, we are
Mhm.
happy to do so as well too. So looking forward to actually meeting with you in person. Maybe we can go bar hopping
Definitely.
the next time I'm home. So,
Yeah, I'm
so
so excited for it.
yes, we
Uh,
definitely have to do that too.
so
Okay.
thank you so very much for giving me this platform. Thank you so very much for reaching out and for this opportunity to really get closer and get this interaction off, a keyboard. Granted, it's still virtual, but it's a step in the better direction, right? So
Definitely.
thanks a lot. And
Don't worry. Once I'm home, I'll definitely be hitting you up. Because I come home, I relax. I try not to be involved in work and business. So
mm,
it's just my time to spend time with family
yeah,
and friends, and get to know people as well.
yeah.
So I am definitely looking forward to it. And you guys are having an event coming up soon, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
our next event, so we have a bunch of different events, and what I can
Okay.
probably do is send you the calendar of events.
Oh no,
Uh,
you could go ahead and talk about it
yeah,
on the platform. Share what you guys are going to be doing.
yeah. So our next upcoming is program would be on Thursday at 7 p.m. Which is entitled oh my god, the names escape me, but it's basically the LGBT discussing LGBTQ life in Tobago. All right. So it's going to be online. A Zoom link would be. Oh, it's called Hear Me Out. Right there, you go. Hear Me Out. A discussion of LGBTQ life and experiences in Tobago. It's going to be a Zoom or online discussion among our members. We'll be sharing the link closer to the day on our social media pages, which I believe would be Facebook. And I think we may have the opportunity to go live and link the Zoom to Facebook Live. Yeah. Beyond that, things that we also have would be a Pilates session, a yoga session with me. We'll be having our games night. We'll also be looking to have a pop-up fair, a pop-up shop, which is originally geared towards displaying the businesses of our members, but we've also expanded that to wider to the wider business society or business community, especially our allies. So persons who are interested can check out our Facebook page and contact our events coordinator. Just let me see if I could get that number very quickly, because I never remember it. Because who remembers numbers these days, right?
I know. I can put the number across the screen. Eight six
Yeah.
eight.
So yeah, 868-783
Mm.
1293, and that's Denica Danielle. She's our events coordinator. So if you're interested in registering your business, if you are a queer person and not part of our group, but do have a business and you want
Mhm.
to be a part of it, call. You could reach out to her. Um, if you are an ally and you're interested in being a part of it, come out. If you're a business owner and you're interested in engaging the community and being a part of the pop-up shop, um, hit us up, get the details, register, and we'll definitely looking forward to that. We're also supposed to have a brunch later on the 17th, a mix and mingle. Um, we'll also be joining Pride TT in Trinidad for the Pride Parade later down at the end of July. And I think the last thing that we will have is sort of a beach lime cool down, which would be the weekend of Emancipation Day. Yeah, so sort of well-rounded program, and we also have an online discussion for queer youth, which would be 18 to 30. Their experience, their challenges, um, as well. I think that is next week.
Next
Yeah,
week.
so
Okay.
so
So you
we'll
guys are into July with your activities as well.
yeah, we I think we do. I think we did that last year. Can't
Okay.
remember. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. I continue to be proud of you guys. Keep up the work. Keep up the fight. Resist. Even with the pushback. And I'm glad I was a host who didn't make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. I also didn't wear a distracting shirt. It's my fault, and I buttoned up. Yeah.
No, 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 no. We all have our implicit biases. So, this is a safe space because, we belong to the same group. So you're fine. I'm not judging.
I
Well,
should have
have a
wanted.
great.
If I wanted that judgment, I should have come on with my Bulls t-shirts.
It's all right. It's all right. The interhouse rivalry is quite fine with me.
It is.
So,
It is beautiful.
so thank you again for being on. Everyone have a great evening. To the rest of the LGBTQ plus community, continue to enjoy your Pride Month. Be safe and continue to be your authentic self.
Yes.
Peace.